So, you've been thinking about going solar, right? But it can get complicated and fast. Well, today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're breaking down the 3 fundamental ways solar power systems are set up, and we're using a fantastic guide from InfoGuide NG to walk us through it.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? Because, it's not just about cramming as many panels as you can onto your roof. Nope. The first and most important choice you have to make, the one that literally shapes everything else, is picking the right type of system for what you actually need.
All right, let's get into it. Here's a quick look at what we're covering. We'll start with the big picture overview, then dive into each one: grid-connected, completely off-grid, and its different flavors, and finally, the hybrid system. Then we'll wrap it all up by talking about how you can choose the right path for you.
Okay, first up, let's start with a really high-level look at the 3 main ways you can go solar. Think of these as like the basic blueprints you'll run into. And this table just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? At a glance, you can see the big differences. It really just boils down to 2 simple questions. 1, are you connected to the main power grid? And 2, do you need batteries? Seriously, how you answer those 2 questions pretty much determines everything else.
All right, let's dig into our first type: grid-connected systems. This is all about powering your home with the help of the utility company. Honestly, this is the one you're going to see most often, especially in cities and suburbs. For a lot of people, it's their first step into the world of solar.
So what exactly is a grid-connected system? Well, the whole idea is that it's a partnership. Your solar panels work together with the main electrical grid. When the sun is shining, you're generating your own power. Awesome, right? But when it's dark, you just pull power from the grid like you always have. The big thing to remember, though, is that if the grid itself goes down, well, for safety reasons, your system usually has to shut down too.
Okay, so what are the key pieces of this puzzle? You've got your solar panels, of course, an inverter, and your appliances, the load. But look at that last one, the electric utility grid. That's what's so interesting here. The grid isn't just some backup plan. It's actually treated as a fundamental component of the system. Okay, so now let's flip the script completely. We're going from relying on the grid to cutting the cord entirely. Let's talk about going completely off-grid. Basically, having your own private power plant.
An off-grid system is exactly what it sounds like. It's a standalone setup that operates 100% independent of the electrical grid. You are your own power company. This is the perfect solution for, a remote cabin in the woods, a farmhouse way out in the country, or really any place where connecting to the main grid just isn't an option.
So, let's look at the parts list for an off-grid system. Notice something missing? Yep, the grid is gone. Poof. It's not part of the equation anymore, and in its place, we have 2 new, absolutely crucial components. First, you've got batteries. This is your personal energy storage. And second, you've got a charge controller. Think of this as the brain of the operation, making sure you don't overcharge those expensive batteries.
But here's the thing, off-grid isn't just one single setup. It's more like a category. There are actually a few different flavors, and which one you choose really depends on what you're trying to power.
You can kind of think of it in 3 steps, or levels. The simplest version has no battery. Then you can add a battery to get power at night for small stuff, and the final step lets you power pretty much anything just like you would on the grid.
So, the most basic no-battery system is super interesting. It only works when the sun is actively shining. That sounds limited, right? But it's perfect for certain jobs, like a water pump out in a field. The clever part is you're not storing the electricity. You're using the electricity to pump water into a tank. The stored water is your battery, in a way.
Okay, now this is the real game changer. By adding a battery, you can now store power for later. This means you have electricity after the sun goes down. It's perfect for simple DC loads. Think 12-volt lights, phone chargers, the kind of stuff you'd find in an RV. The only catch is you're pretty much limited to powering those specific DC appliances.
And finally, we add the inverter. This is the magic box that lets you power, well, basically anything. It takes that DC power from your batteries and converts it into standard AC power. We're talking about the electricity that runs your TV, your laptop, everything. This is what gives you that true grid-quality electricity, day or night.
All right, so we've seen grid-connected systems, and we've seen off-grid systems. But what if you want the best of both worlds? What if you want the security of the grid plus the backup of batteries? Well, that's where our third type comes in, the hybrid.
So a hybrid system is exactly what it sounds like. It's a power system with more than one source of energy. So you've got your solar panels, but you might also combine them with a backup diesel generator, or maybe even a small wind turbine. The key is that it's all about resilience.
So when a storm knocks out the power and all your neighbors' lights go out, yours stay on. It's the ultimate peace of mind setup.
So there you have it, the 3 main blueprints for going solar. Now let's just pull it all together and figure out what's right for you.
When you really break it down, the choice is pretty clear. If you're in a city with a reliable grid, grid-connected is probably your best bet. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, well, off-grid is essential. And if you have an unreliable grid where you just want total energy security no matter what happens, hybrid is the way to go. It all comes down to your relationship with the grid.
And you know, this quote from our source, InfoGuide NG, just hits the nail on the head. It says, "Solar power systems can be installed in a variety of configurations which are dependent on the location and application." And what that really means is, there's no single best system for everyone. There's only the system that's right for you.
So now you know the blueprints. You get the fundamental differences between these systems. And honestly, that's the most critical first step. It gives you the language you need to start asking the right questions. So now the big question isn't, what is solar? It's, how will you build your energy future?